Hello friends, this is our third lecture of Unit 1 of Class 11 NCERT book. In our previous lecture, we discussed about properties of matter and we also discussed about how to measure these properties. Like there were two properties, physical and chemical properties, and we learned that in order to understand the nature of matter, many a times we have to measure these properties. So today we will discuss about uncertainty in measurements. It is a very important topic. In this we will learn about significant figures, accuracy and precision, etc. So let us start our today's lecture. But before starting lecture, let us first see what is the scientific way of notation. So in chemist we have to deal with a very large numbers like this. So this is a very large number which corresponds to number of molecules in 2 gram of hydrogen gas. 2 gram of hydrogen gas, it contains so many large number of molecules. Similarly, this is mass of one hydrogen atom, which is very small. So we have to deal with the numbers either which are very large or the numbers which are very small. So similarly, there are many other constants like Planck's constant, speed of light, charges on particles, etc., which are either very large or they have very small value. So when we have to add these numbers, if we write these numbers as it is, so it becomes very difficult to add these numbers or multiply or subtract these numbers. So in order to simplify, we use scientific notation for such numbers, and scientific notation is called exponential notation, which is of the form n into 10 raised to the power n. We can represent any number in this form. This form is called exponential form of representation of numbers, where capital N is any number between 1 to 9.999, means between 1 and 10. It can have any value, whereas small n, which is here, this is called exponent. Its name is exponent, and 10 is called base. So n can have any positive or negative integer values. It is integer like -1, -2, -3, 1, 2, 3, etc. So this is how we represent these very large numbers or very small numbers in scientific notations. Like, suppose this is a number 232.508. It can be represented in this form, scientific form, as 2.32508 into 10 raised to the power 2. This is the scientific notation. Similarly, so we see here what we have done. We have moved this decimal to two places left. So what we have done, we have moved this decimal to two places left. So when we move a decimal to left hand side, what we do, this is compensated by a exponent of 10. If we move this decimal two places left, then we will add 10 raised to the power 2. So this movement of decimal to the number of places, it determines the value of this exponent. If this decimal have been placed up to here, means 3 points, then we have written as 10 raised to the power 3. Similarly, 0.00016, it can be written in this form, n into 10 raised to the power n as 1.6 into 10 raised to the power minus 4. Now you see what we have done. We have moved this decimal to 4 points to the right. 1 2 1 2 3 4. We have keep this decimal to here. So if we move the decimal to the right hand side, same is shown by as the exponent but with the negative sign. Like we have moved this decimal 4 places to the right, so we have written as 10 raised to the power minus 4. So far we know that if we move the decimal place to the left hand side, then it is shown as 10 raised to the power exponent, and value of exponent is the number of places a decimal is moved to the left hand side. Similarly, if we move the decimal to the right hand side, same is shown as the exponent with the negative sign. So let us try to do some examples for this. Suppose we have to do the scientific notation for, let us say, 0.0048. Suppose we have to write this number in a scientific notation, and scientific notation is n into 10 raised to the power n, where n is any number between 1 to 10. So that means we have to move this decimal to 3 places to the right. If we move this here, it becomes 4.8. Now we have to find the value of exponent. So exponent is, if we move the decimal to the right hand side, that means it will have a negative value. So how many points we have moved? We have moved 1 2 3 points to the right, so we will write into 10 raised to the power minus 3. So this is the scientific notation for this number. Similarly, let us do for this number. Suppose we have 2 3 4 and this number, we have to give its scientific notation. Now in this number, what we have to do? We have to move the decimal to the left hand side, because we need a decimal here. We need 2.34 into 10 raised to the power. Now let us see how many decimal points we have moved to the left. 1 2 3 4 5. So if we move decimal to the left hand side, it is given a positive sign, 10 raised to the power 5. So this is the scientific notation for this number. Similarly, we can write for this number 8008. Again, in order to get a number between 1 to 10, we have to move this decimal to 3 places to the left. So we will write 8.008 into 10 raised to the power, as we have moved left, so it will have a positive value. Decimal was moved 3 places to the left, so value of exponent is 3. Similarly, let us see next example. Suppose we have 500.0. For this we have to take this decimal 2 places to the left, so we have to write 5.000 into 10 raised to the power. How many points we have moved? 1 2 to the left hand side, so it will be into 10 raised to the power 2. Similarly, suppose we have this number 6.0012. so this number is already in the scientific notation way, so we need not to do anything because it is between 1 and 10. So that is how we can represent any number in a scientific notation by just simply following these methods, that if we move the decimal to the right hand side, then the value of exponent is the negative sign with the number of places decimal has been moved. Like here, the decimal was moved to 3 places to the right, so we have written 10 raised to the power minus 3. Similarly, here decimal was moved 1 2 3 1 2 3 for 5 places to the left. So if we move to the left, then value of exponent is positive and is equal to the number of places decimal has been moved. So it was moved 5 places, so we have written 10 raised to the power 5. So similarly we can give scientific notation for any number. So now let us see how to multiply and divide the numbers in scientific notation form. Let us see the first example. First example is 5.6 into 10 raised to the power 5. I have chosen these examples from your book. Into 6.9 into 10 raised to the power 8. Okay, now let us see how to multiply these numbers. So when we have to multiply these numbers, first thing is to group in two sets. We will make groups of these two numbers and group of these two exponent numbers. So it will be 5.6 into 6.9 multiplied by 10 raised to the power 5 into 10 raised to the power 8. So if you solve this 5.6 into 6.9, it will be 38.64. Now let us see what to do with this. Now there is a mathematical way to multiply numbers, exponential numbers, like if the base is same. So for these two exponential number, base is 10. So we can I will just write a simple formula: a raised to the power x into a raised to the power y. The two exponential numbers having same base, if we multiply them, then the result is base will remain same as it is, the exponents are added, the result is a raised to the power x plus y. Okay, similarly if we have to divide these numbers, a raised to the power x divided by a raised to the power y, if the base is the same, so here again base will remain same. Now these exponents will be subtracted, a raised to the power x minus y. That means if the base is same and we multiply two exponential numbers, then there is no change in base but the exponents are added. Now 5 plus 8, it will become 10 raised to the power 5 plus 8, because here we are doing multiplication. So it is 38.64 into 10 raised to the power 13, but this is not the scientific notation. Why? Because in scientific notation is of the type n into 10 raised to the power n. This n has to be between 1 to 10, but this is 38, this is greater than 1. So in order to make it between 1 to 10, we have to move this decimal to the left hand side. So it will be 3.864 into 10 raised to the power. Now if we have already exponential number, then what we will do, as we are moving the decimal to the left hand side, so what we do, we add the number to the already exponent. Already exponent was 13, so the number is determined by the number of places this decimal is moved. Now this decimal has been moved to left and by 1 point, so we have added 1, so it is 3.864 into 10 raised to the power 14. This is the answer when we multiply these two numbers. So let us again do some next example. So 9.8 into 10 raised to the power minus 2 multiplied by 2.5 into 10 raised to the power minus 6. Now we will again make the group, so it can be written as 9.8 into 2.5 multiplied by 10 raised to the power minus 2 into 10 raised to the power minus 6. So now 9.8 into 2.5 is 24.50. 24.50 into, now again this is multiplication, so we have to add the exponents. Minus 2 plus minus 6, second exponent is minus 6, so it is 24.50 into 10 raised to the power minus 2 and plus multiplied by minus is minus, so it is minus 6. Now minus 2 minus 6 is minus 8, so it can be written as 24.50 into 10 raised to the power minus 8. And if we have to give the scientific notation, we have to move this decimal to 1 point left, so it is 2.450 into 10 raised to the power minus 8 plus 1, as the decimal has been moved to left hand side, so we have added 1, so it is 2.450 into 10 raised to the power minus 7. So this is the answer for this multiplication. Similarly, let us do one example of division. So the question is 2.7. The question is 2.7 into 10 raised to the power minus 3 divided by 5.5 into 10 raised to the power 4. Now again we will make groups. We will, first group is 2.7 divided by 5.5. Second is, so this is different, multiplied by 10 raised to the power minus 3 divided by 10 raised to the power 4. Now if you solve this 2.7 divided by 5.5, it is 0.4909, 0.4909 into, now 10 raised to the power minus 3. Now as it is division, so base is the same, so now these two numbers will be subtracted, minus 3 minus 4, so it is 0.4909 into 10 raised to the power minus 7. So this is the result, but if we have to give the scientific notation, what we have to do, we have to move this decimal one place to the right, so it is 4.909. now as we have moved the decimal to one place to the right, so it will be minus 1, so it is 4.909 into 10 raised to the power minus 8. So this is the answer of this division. So please practice more sums at your home of this type of multiplication and division, because many times when we have to solve the numericals, we will counter such type of numbers. So please do practice. Similarly, now let us see how to add and subtract these numbers. So the first question here is 6.65. so it is 6.65 into 10 raised to the power 4. So this is a sum of addition, plus 8.85 into 10 raised to the power 3. Now when we have to add the exponential number, so you have to remember that we can only add these numbers if the value of exponent is the same. Here exponent is 4, here exponent is 3. The first task is to make the exponent same. So either we can make it 3 or we can make it 4. So it is good to make it 4 because now it becomes 0.8 and this number will be less than 1, so we have to do nothing. So what I do, I will make it 10 raised to power 4, so it can be written as 6.65 into 10 raised to the power 4. We have done nothing with this, plus now into 10 raised to the power 4. That means we have added 1 to the exponent. If we add 1, then decimal moves to the left and 1 place to the left, so it will be 0.885. so here you have to be very careful. What we have done, we have made this exponent 4. So in order to make it 4, what we have to do, we have to add 1. Now if we add 1, then decimal moves to the left. So as we have added 1, so decimal has been moved 1 place to the left. So this we got. Now we can group it. 10 raised to power 4 is common, so we have 6.65 plus 0.885 into 10 raised to the power 4. So if you add it, it will be 7.545 into 10 raised to the power 4. So this is the answer. So the only thing is we have to be careful that when we have to add exponential numbers, we have to make these exponents same. Now similarly, let us do one more example of subtraction now. So the question is 2.5 into 10 raised to the power minus 2 minus 4.8 into 10 raised to the power minus 3. Now again what we have to do, we have to make the exponents same. So what we can do, we can make it minus 2. In order to make minus 2, we have to add 1. So what we can write, 2.5 into 10 raised to the power minus 2 as it is, as we are not doing anything to it. So into 10 raised to the power minus 2, so we are making it 10 raised to the power minus 2. Now from to make minus 3 to minus 2, what we have to do, we have to add 1, because minus 3 plus 1 is equal to minus 2. As we have added 1, so this decimal will be placed 1 place to the left, so it is 0.25 into 10 raised to the power minus 2. So we can write 10 raised to the power minus 2 is common. 2.5 minus 0.25 into 10 raised to the power minus 2. So it becomes equal to 2. Let us see. So it was not 0.25, sorry, it was 4.8. so I have done a very little mistake here. So it was 4.8, by mistake I have written 0.25. so it has to be, we have moved this decimal 1 place to the left, so it is 0.48, sorry. So it is 0.48. so what I can do, I can erase it. So I will write here 0.48, sorry, it was, this number was 4.8, so it becomes 0.48. now let us erase this. So 2.5 minus 0.48 into 10 raised to the power minus 2, and the answer will be 2.02 into 10 raised to the power minus 2. So you have to remember that when we have to do multiplication and division, we have to do nothing with these exponents, but when we have to do either addition or subtraction, first we have to make the exponents same. So that's what we have done here in these two examples. So please do some more practice with some other questions. So these type of questions you can get in your lower mathematics book. So please try to solve and try to practice these sums, because this is very important when we have to solve numericals related to chemistry. Now we will discuss about accuracy and precision, and it is very important topic, so please listen carefully. So if we have to measure something which involves exact numbers, like if I say count some balls, so we have 10 balls. If I say count, so you can say these are 10 balls. Similarly, if I say count tables or count chairs, or simply I say count the number of alphabets in this accuracy word, so we can easily count. It is 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. So we can confidently say that this alphabet, it contains this accuracy word, it contains 8 alphabets. So such type, in such type of measurements, the results are known with absolute accuracy. So there is complete accuracy in such results. So similarly, if we have to say, okay, count the number of seconds in 1 minute, so we can say with absolute accuracy that there are 60 seconds in 1 minute. But if we have to do some scientific measurement involving some measuring device, like if I say calculate your height, tell me your height, so in order to know your height, you will take the help of a measuring tape, which is a measuring device. So in such cases, the results are not known with absolute accuracy, so we cannot say that the answer is completely accurate. Why? Because the accuracy of such measurements, it will depend upon two parameters. First, accuracy of the measuring device. First we have to see that this measuring device should be accurate. Second, skill of the operator. Like if you measure your height with the two different measuring tapes, the result may come out to be different, because both these measuring device, they are not accurate up to the same level. Similarly, if your height is noted by two different persons, they may report different results. Some may say your height is 1.6 meter, other may say your height is 1.61 meter. So such results are not known with absolute accuracy. So what if we have to check the accuracy of such measurements? What we do, we repeat number of times the measurements, number of times, and then average value is found. Like what we do, we will say that person that measure my height 5 times, 6 times, 7 times, then we will say, now suppose he notes my height in 6 times, like he notes 1.6, second time he notes 1.67, next time he notes 1.59. suppose he made 3 measurements, then what we say him that now take the average value of these 3 by adding and dividing by 3. So to check the accuracy of a measurement, it is repeated a number of times and average value is found. Now if the average value of different measurements is close to the either actual, we can say either true, or we can say correct, we can say anything. If average value of those measurements is close to the actual value of the measurements, then we will say our measurement is accurate. But what if? So this accuracy is the agreement of a particular value to the true value of the result. So we can say accuracy is agreement of a particular value to the true value of the result. So how accuracy means, we will say our measurement is accurate if this average value is close to the true value. More closer the measuring average value is to the true value, more accurate is the measurement. But what if the actual value is not known? So many times we don't know the actual results of the our measurement. So in such case, we check the there is a new word, precision of the measurements. What does precision mean? if values of different measurements they are close to each other and hence close to their average value, then we say that measurement is precise. Like if a student, so we will discuss this in our next slide. You will get an idea about accuracy and measurement when we will give, I will give you some example to learn. So the precision means if we repeat the experiment a number of times and every time the measurement or result obtained is very close, every time it is very close to oneself and to the average value, then we will say our measurement is precise. So what does precision means? Precision refers to the closeness of various measurements for the same quantity. That means how close the different measurements are to with one another and with the average value. So we can say precision is a measure of reproducibility of an experiment, whereas accuracy is a measure of closeness to the exact value. So you might have observed that in your practicals we generally, so practicals of volumetric analysis or any other, we generally say you that take the reading 3 times 4 times. So then we take the average value or concordant value. So the main motive behind taking the, by doing the experiment a number of times, to make it more precise. That means the results obtained should be close to one another. So such type of results are called reproducible results, and it is called reproducibility of the experiment. Now let us try to understand this with this example. Now let us suppose there is a room and its actual length is 10.5 meter. So we know its actual length, it is 10.5 meter, and we gave the task to 4 different persons to report and note the length of a room. So we have said to 4 different persons to note the length of the room. So suppose there are 4 persons, A, B, C and D, and each person has done 5 measurements. Okay, each person has done 5 measurements and the results are obtained and they are represented in this table. So let us first look at the results of person A. So a person A reports that in his first measurement the length of room is 10.4, in his second measurement as 10.3, in third measurement as 10.5, in fourth measurement as 10.7 and fifth as 10.6. Now if we take the average of these values, it will be 10.5. So average can easily be taken by adding these numbers and dividing by 5 because he has done 5 measurement. So the average value is 5. Now let us first talk about accuracy. So when we have to see whether a measurement is accurate or no, we just look the average value and match it with the true value. Now true value was 10.5, average value is 10.5. So we can say the measurement done by person A is accurate as his average result is same or close to the true result. So when we have to check the precision of a measurement, what we do? First we will see whether his observations are close to one another, like 10.4, 10.3 they are close, 10.4, 10.5 they are close, and whether they are close to average value or no. Now you can see that all his observations they are very close to the average value as well as they are close to one another. So we can say that the results of person A, they are both accurate as well as precise. So person A is both accurate as well as precise. I will say accurate as well as precise. Now let us see about person B. First check its accuracy. Now its average value is 10.2, which is not close to true value. So it is not accurate. So his measurements are not accurate. But if you look his measurements are 10.1, 10, 10.3, 10.2, 10.4. They are very close to one another and also they are close to average value. So in order to check precision, the measurement should be close to one another as well as close to average value. So we can say the results of person B, these are precise. His results are precise but they are not accurate. Let us say about person C. Now first let us see his average value. His average value is 10.5, which is close to the actual value. So we will say his result is accurate. His measurement is accurate, but if you look at his results, his individual measurements, they are not close to one another. So one time he has reported 10.9, other time he has reported 10.1. So there is a huge difference between these two values, and also they vary to a greater extent from the average value. So we will say the results of person C, they are not precise. So generally, in for a measurement to be accurate, it has to be both precise as well as accurate. So this is just a luck or chance. We can say that his average value came close to the real value, but we cannot say that a measurement which is not precise is accurate. So for a measurement to be accurate, it has to be both precise as well as accurate. Now this measurement of person C was not precise, but by luck his average value came close to real value. So we can say his measurement is accurate but it is not precise. So in scientific measurements, a measurement is acceptable if it is both precise as well as accurate. Now let us see the results of person D. So person D, first sees accuracy. So the average value is not close to the real value, so it is not accurate. Next, his individual measurements also they vary from one another and also from the average value. So the measurements of person D, they are neither precise nor accurate. So the most accepted result from this is the result of person A, which is both accurate as well as precise. So we can also understand accuracy and precision by these illustrations. Suppose some persons are playing the game of dart and they have to hit this target. So this is their target. So if we see the results of this person, first his outcomes, they are staggered, they are not close to one another. So we will say it is of low precision, and also they deviate from the real target, so they are also not accurate. So this person has low accuracy as well as low precision. Now let us see about this. Now this person, all his results, they were very close to one another, so it has high precision, but their values deviate from the actual target. So his outcomes were not accurate but they were precise. Now this these results, they are very close to the real target, so they are accurate, but as they are not close to one another, so there is a huge difference between these. So this has low precision. If we see this, now this person has all his results very close, so it has high precision as well as he has hit the target every time, so it is also accurate. So this is your accuracy and precision. And in any scientific measurement, if you have to do some measurement or have to do some uh, experiment and report the value, so it is always expected that your results should be both accurate as well as precise. And in order to check the accuracy, we match the average value with the true value, and in order to check the precision, we match the individual measurements. The individual measurements should be very close to one another and also close to the average value. So this was accuracy and precision. Now let us discuss next very important topic, significant figures. So as we have learned that every experimental measurement has some amount of uncertainty associated with it. So we cannot say with accuracy that the actual value is this. The reason for these are because of limitations of measuring instrument, error in measuring instrument, and the skill of the person making the measurement. As individual people, they may report the different results. So let us understand this by example. Suppose mass of an object is obtained using a platform balance and it comes out to be 9.4 gram, whereas the mass of same object is measured on a analytical balance which is more accurate and the mass came out to be 9.4213 gram. Now we can say the mass obtained on this platform balance, this digit 4 is uncertain. We cannot say that whether this will be 9.4, is this close to 4 or it is close to 5. So this digit is uncertain, but in this, now this it has become certain, it is 9.4, this is also certain 2, this is also certain 1. So the last digit is uncertain. In this measurement, this 3 is uncertain, we don't know whether it is 3 or 4 or 2. We can tell these 4 digits they are certain, but this 3 is uncertain. So the uncertainty in the experimental or calculated values, this is indicated by mentioning the significant figures. So significant figures, they are helpful in determining the uncertainty in the experimental or calculated value. So what are significant figures? Significant figures, they are meaningful digits which are known with certainty. So the number of digits which are known with certainty plus one which is estimated or uncertain. Like let us see, if we write a result as 11.2 ml, we can say that 11 is certain, okay, but 2 is not certain and its certainly would be plus minus 1. It can be either 3 or it can be 1. We are not certain whether it is actually 2. So unless otherwise the uncertainty is not mentioned, so it is always understood that uncertainty in the last digit is plus minus 1. If it is not mentioned the what is uncertainty, then we will take the uncertainty as plus minus 1 in the last digit. So please remember uncertainty in the last digit. Like here the last digit is 2, so we can say it can be either 2, either 1 or plus minus 1 means 2 plus minus 1 is means it can be either 2 plus 1 is 3 or 2 minus 1 is 2. So it will be between 2 and, so 2 minus 1 is 1, sorry, 2 minus 1 is 1, so it can be between 1 and 3. Now let us see, this is very important, how to find the significant figure. So there are some rules to determine significant figures. Please listen very carefully. So the first rule is all non-zero digits, they are significant. So we will consider all non-zero digits as significant. Suppose we have 285 centimeter, then all these 3 digits they are non-zero, so we can say it has 3 significant figures. Similarly 0.25, here we have 2 non-zero digits 2 and 5, so we can say it has 2 significant figures. All non-zero digits they are significant. Now let us say about the status of 0, when it is significant, when it is not significant. So first thing is zeros preceding to a first non-zero digits, they are not significant. So the zeros before first non-zero digit, they are non-significant. These zeros they just indicate the position of a decimal point, like 0.03. So the first non-zero digit is 3. So all the zeros before 3 they are non-significant. So it has only one significant figure which is 3. Similarly, 0.0052, the first non-zero digit is 5. So all the zeros before this, they are non-significant. So it has only 5 and 2. It has only 2 significant figures. So the zeros preceding to the first non-zero digits, they are not significant. Second, the zeros between two non-zero digits, they are significant. So if we have zero between two numbers which are non-zero, those zeros will be significant, like 2.005. Here 2 is non-zero, 5 is non-zero, so these zeros between 2 and 5, they are significant. So this number has 4 significant figures. Next, zeros at the end or right of a number, they are significant, provided, but there is a condition, they are on the right side of the decimal point. Only those zeros at the right hand side of a number, they are significant, which are on the right hand side of the decimal point, like 0.200. This 0 is before the decimal point, it is not significant. So these zeros, they are to the right hand side of the decimal point. So it has 1, 2, 3. It has 3 significant figures. But if the terminal zeros are not significant, there is no decimal point. He says if there is no decimal point, then the terminal zeros are no significant, like 1, 2, 3, 0, 0. As there is no decimal point, these terminal zeros, they are non-significant. For example, 100, as there is no decimal point, so these zeros, they are non-significant, so it has only one significant zero. But 100 point, now if we have a point, then these zeros, they become significant. Now it has 3 significant figures, and 100.0, as it contains a decimal and also 0 after decimal is significant, so these zeros are also significant, this 0 is also significant, this is a number, it is otherwise significant. So it has 4 significant figures. So such numbers, they are represented in scientific notation. So we can express 100 as it has one significant figure, so we can write it as 1 into 10 raised power 2, where it has one significant figure. Similarly, so these exponential numbers, they are not counted in significant figures. Similarly, 1.0 into 10 raised power 2, if we write it like this, it has 1, as 0 is after decimal, so it has 2 significant figures. Similarly, 1.00 into 10 raised power 2, it has 1, 2, 3 significant figures. Let us revise first these rules. It says that all non-zero digits, they are significant. We did example. The only thing was about zeros, sometimes they are significant, sometimes they are non-significant. So the first rule is the zeros before non-zero digits, they are not significant. The zeros before first non-zero digit, they are not, like in this number the first non-zero digit is 3, so the zeros before this, it is non-significant, and the zeros between two non-zero digits, they are significant, like these two zeros, they are between two non-zero numbers, so we can say these two zeros, they are significant. So total significant figures are 1, 2, 3 and 4, and zeros at the right hand end or right hand side of a number, they are significant, provided they are on the right hand side of the decimal. So if it is represented by a decimal point, then they are significant. If there is no decimal point, then these are not significant, like in this number 0.200, these zeros, they are after decimal point, so it has 3 significant figures. But 100, there is no, in 100 there is no decimal point, so these zeros, they are non-significant, so it has only one significant figure. And this rule is also very important. Counting the number of objects, for example 2 balls or 20 eggs, which are known with the actual accuracy, or with accuracy they have infinite significant figures. So you have to remember the things which are known with absolute accuracy, they have, or a number, they have infinite significant figures, as these are exact numbers and they can be represented by writing infinite number of zeros after placing a decimal. So we can 2, or we can also write 2.000, it is same, and the zeros after decimal they are significant. So we can write 2 as 2.000, we can put infinite number of zeros. So the absolute number, they have infinite significant figures. Now with the help of these rules, let us try to do some examples and find the number of significant zeros in some numbers. So the first number is 0.0025. So we have to find the significant figures in this number. So these are non-zero numbers, so they are significant. Now the only thing is about these zeros, as the rule says that the zeros before first non-zero number, they are not significant. So there are 3 zeros before first non-zero numbers, so these zeros, they are not significant. This number has only 2 significant figures, 2 and 5. Now let us see next number, 208. Now 2 and 8 are significant. Now there is a question about 0, as this 0 is between two non-zero numbers. So if we have a 0 between two non-zero number, it is significant. So this is also significant. So this number has 3 significant figures. Similarly 5005, so it has 1 2 3 4 significant figures, or we can also write it as 0.000. If it is a absolute number, then it has infinite significant figures. So next 126,000, as these are non-zero numbers, so these are significant. So 3 significant figures are already there. Now what about 3 zeros? So the rule says the zeros to the right hand side of a number or end of a number, if there is no decimal point, then these zeros, they are non-significant. So this number has only 3 significant figures, 1 2 and 6. These zeros, they are not significant because there is no decimal point. All the zeros at the end of the number, and if there is no decimal point, these zeros are non-significant. Now let us see about this 500.0. Now this number has a decimal, so 5 is as non-zero, so it is a significant figure. So if we have a decimal, then these zeros on the right hand side, they become significant figure. So this is also a significant figure, this is also a significant figure, this is also a significant figure. So it has total 4 significant figures. 500.0 has 4 significant figures. Similarly 2.0034, so these non-zero numbers, they are significant figures, 3. What about these zeros? So these zeros are between two non-zero numbers, so they are significant. So this number has 1 2 3 4 and 5 significant figures. So that is how we find the significant figures. Now let us see how to add and subtract the numbers with the help of significant figures. So the first rule is, during addition and subtraction of significant figures, the result, important rule is, cannot have more digits to the right of the decimal point than either of the original numbers. So we will understand this by following examples. Suppose we have to add these 3 numbers, 12.11 which has 4 significant figures, 18.0 has 3 significant figures, and this has 4 significant figures. So the result is 31.122 which has 5 significant figures. So the rule says that during addition, what we have to see, the result cannot have more digits to the right of the decimal point than either of the original number. So we have to count the number of digits after the decimal point in the original number. So it has 2 digits after decimal point, it has 1 digit, it has 3 digits. So the rule says the result should not have more digits than either. So we have to choose the digits, the original number with the minimum digits after decimal. So this number has only 1 digits after decimal, so our result cannot have more than 1 digits in the result. So this result will be represented as 30.1. So if we have to represent the result of this addition, it will be 30.1 according to this rule, which says that the result cannot have more digits to the right of the decimal point than either of the original number. We have to see all the numbers. So in order to determine the number of places after decimal point in the result, we have to choose that digit which has lesser number of digits after the decimal point. As this number had only 1 digit after the decimal point, so the result should also have only 1 digit after the decimal point. So this was not the correct result. So this is the correct result of this addition. So this is a very simple rule, that when we add the significant figures, the result should not have more digits after the decimal point than either of the original numbers. Now this has 2 digits, this has 3 digits after decimal point, but we have to see all the numbers. As this digit has only 1 digit after the decimal point, so our result should also contain only 1 digit after the decimal point. So when we have to do the multiplication and division of the significant figure, what we have to keep in mind that the result must be reported with no more significant figures as in the measurement with the few significant figures. So let us understand this by, suppose we have to do the multiplication of 2.5 and 1.25, the result is 3.125. So it has 2 significant figures, it has 3 significant figure, and the result has 4 significant figures. But the rule says the result should not have more significant figures than either of the original measurement. Now it has only 2 significant figures, so our result should also have only 2 significant figures. So the correct answer is 3.1. So in order, when we have to do the multiplication of the significant figures, in order to check the result, our result should not have more significant figure than the measurement with the few significant figures. Similarly, in addition and subtraction, we have to count the number of digits after the decimal point. The result should not have more digits after the decimal point than either of the measurements. So this process is called, like we have converted this number to 3.1, this is called rounding off the digit. So this process is called rounding of the digit, and there are some rules to round off. You already may be aware of this rule. I will just quickly give once. He says that if the rightmost digit is to be removed is more than 5, then the preceding number is increased by 1. So the example is now 1.386. Suppose if we have to remove 6, as it is more than 5, so the number before this has to be increased by 1. So the result will be 1.31. So that means if the number that we have to remove it is more than 5, then the preceding number is increased by 1. Second, if the rightmost digit to be removed is less than 5, the preceding number is not changed, like 4.334. Now if we have to remove 4, as 4 is less than 5, so we will not do anything with the preceding number, the result will be 4.33. But if the rightmost digit to be removed is 5, then there are 2 cases. then the preceding number is not changed if it is an even number, but it is increased by 1 if it is an odd number. So if we have to remove the rightmost number, and if it is 5, then if the preceding digit is even, then it is not increased, but if it is odd, then it is increased by 1. So let us see here 6.35. Suppose we have to remove 5, as 3 is an odd number, so we will increase 3 to 4, so the result will be 6.4. Similarly 6.25, if we have to remove 5, as this number is an even number, so we will not do anything to it, so it can be rounded off as 6.2. So these are some rules to round off the digits. Now we will do one example of multiplication and division of significant figures. The question is, how many, I will write here, how many significant figures should be present in the result. Okay, so this is the question. I will write down some cases. We have to determine the number of significant figures in the results. So the first question is 0.02856 0.02856 into 298.15 into 0.112 divided by 0.5785. Now this is a case of multiplication and division. So in this case, the results, when we have to see the number of significant figures in the results, then the simple case is the result should not have more significant figures than either of the individual measurements. So first we will count the number of significant figures. So it has 1, 2 and 3 significant figures. It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 significant figures. So it has 1, 2, 3 significant figures. It has 1, 2, 3, 4. So the result will have the lowest significant figures. Simply remember, the result will have the lowest significant figures, which are 3. So the result will not have more than 3 significant figures. So the result will have 3 significant figures. So this was the question, how many significant figures should be present in the result. So when there is multiplication and division, we have to find the digit with the lowest significant figure. So the result will contain the significant figures equal to the significant figures equal to the digit having lowest significant figure. As in this data, the lowest significant figure was 3, so the result will contain 3 significant figures. Next, 5 into, now it is an interesting case, 5 into 5.364. Now as I said, the numbers that are finite, they have infinite significant figure. This number 5 has infinite significant figure because it can be written as like anything up to infinity. So it has infinite significant figures. It has 4 significant figures. So the minimum significant figures are 4. So the result will have 4 significant figures. Next is the case of addition. 0.0125 plus 0.7864 plus 0.0215. So in order to check the number of significant figures in the result, we have to count the number of digits after decimal places, and we have to find the minimum value. So it has 1, 2, 3, 4 digits after the decimal places. It has 1, 2, 3, 4 digits. It also has 4 digits. As these 3 digits are same number of digits, these 3 numbers, they have same number of digits after decimal place. So our significant figure should have four, our result should have four significant figures in the result. So it was all about significant figures. So that was all for today. So today we discussed a very important topic, uncertainty in measurement, and we learned what we learned. We first learned the scientific notations. Then we learnt how to multiply and add, divide and subtract these numbers. Then we learnt about accuracy, important topic, and precision. Then very important topic, significant figures, and we did some examples of these cases. So I have done a few examples that I could do. So please try to do more examples by yourself, and I will also try if I could give one more lecture only on significant figures with more examples that we will see later. But first we will complete this unit. In the meantime, you can do practice with the numericals based on these things. So I hope you like the lecture. So if you have liked the lecture, please do subscribe and share with your friends. Thank you very much.